So besides those fancy initials at the end of your name, should you go to grad school, get a graduate degree? Well, I'll walk you through the basics, the pros and cons, how the field of higher education and graduate degrees is changing today, and what that means for you, your career, and your income. So tap the like button and let's get started. My name is James Callahan and I have a PhD. Yep, those fancy letters after my name. And that means in some circles people call me Dr. Callahan. Sometimes they do it out of respect. There are some people who do it out of ridicule. Yeah, there are a few of those. But for the most part, when someone with all those initials after their name shows up, we're not really sure what to do with them. Once upon a time, there were just a few of us. Graduate degrees were unique, special, and carried with them a sense of elitism.
So Joel told me that you're gonna go to Columbia, grad school.
Yeah.
Wow.
But here's a myth about grad school. Some think it only prepares you to work in higher education. But that's not the case today, and it hasn't been for a while.
But why do you have to go to grad school for that?
No, that's a valid question.
You see, grad school education and graduate degrees have changed during my career, but they still mean the same things. They mean you get paid more and you're more employable. And since the year 2000, the number of people whose highest degree was a master's has doubled to 21 million in the US. The number of doctoral degree holders has more than doubled to 4.5 million in the US. And now about 13.1% of US adults have an advanced degree, and that's up 8.6% since 2000. Between 2000 and 2018, the percentage of people who had completed a bachelor's degree or higher increased by 9 percentage points, from 25.6% to 35% in the US. And the US is not nearly the most educated country in the world. That would be Luxembourg, Finland, and Norway. And then there are the bragging rights for having earned a graduate degree in your field. That is, one degree more than everyone else who just has a bachelor's degree.
How's bragging camp going?
Your degree just sits there on your resume and actually earns you more money. And since most people getting a graduate degree don't want to be a teacher or a researcher in the field, what does that mean for their employability? For example, today most PhD grads don't work in their desired field right out of their doctoral program, in part because we're still earning PhDs in Rococo art history. One reason for this is because there are fewer and fewer jobs for teachers and researchers in higher education. It's one of the big changes that the field is experiencing. You can check out my video here and learn more about that. Today, just 25% of teaching jobs or professorships in higher education, colleges and universities, are held by people who are called tenure track. That means that 75% of the people who teach in the classroom in colleges and universities aren't tenure track. They're adjunct, part-time, or year-to-year contract workers, and most of them actually hold a PhD in their field. And outside of those circles of STEM and humanities and higher education, you can look at professional degrees. Fewer and fewer graduates of law schools with their Juris Doctorate, their JD degree, are actually practicing law. That means that the number of non-practicing law school grads is skyrocketing, from only 9% in 2000 to 24% in 2012, and it's close to 30% today. So why do people go to grad school? Well, one significant reason recently is that economic downturns drive people back to school to complete their degree to give them an advantage over their competitors in the job market, or to earn more money, or to gain expertise in a new area, to get a new type of job, because that's where most of the salary increases come from in today's world, moving from one job to another. You finish a degree, you add a master's degree to strengthen a resume, and you get a raise at some of the bigger employers. If you're a teacher, for example, getting a master's degree, simply adding a master's degree above your bachelor's degree will guarantee you more money in most school districts. And in some fields today, an MBA, a Master of Business Administration, is the standard. It's the benchmark for working in firms. And an earned PhD is even more different, well, unless you're doing the mail order kind. A PhD program today is usually about a 5-year residential program that includes working as a teaching or research assistant. It involves not only seminar or cohort classwork with your peers, but also unique research, and in the humanities it usually includes a language proficiency in 2, 3, 4, or even more languages. So for example, if you're studying Baroque art, well, you're going to need some Italian. For my PhD in religious studies from Marquette University, I had to demonstrate competency in 4 languages, and I had to pass an exam in German and French for doing research and translating work. Now, do I use those languages today? Well, not very much, but that's because I'm not a tenure-track faculty member at a research university or an elite undergrad institution. So why do some people choose to pursue a graduate degree in their field or their career? Well, some people are just Albert Schweitzers that want to get multiple degrees. I even knew one man that earned 3 different doctoral degrees, and he'd like to be called Doctor, Doctor, Doctor.
Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
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 Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor.
And doctor.
Yeah, he was that kind of guy. Another reason why you'd want to pursue graduate studies is because you did want to become a teacher or researcher in your field. And that's like a union card. It's the minimum that gets you into the discussion, gets you into the field. So what is a terminal degree anyway? Well, it's usually the highest degree you can earn within a field, the highest academic degree. Like the Master of Fine Arts, an MFA, it's pretty much the highest degree for those who do the work of an artist, filmmaker, or musician. But you can also earn a PhD in those fields. You can talk about people who produce music and art and film. But if you get a master's degree in, say, biology, that's not going to help you very much because the PhD club in biology is pretty strong. Now, it will distinguish you if everyone else in your workplace where the biology degree comes in handy just has a bachelor's degree. But a master's degree won't help you in the PhD club. So the basics of a master's degree today usually requires about 2 years of residency, classes, and some project work or writing a thesis. Maybe a language or 2. Sometimes it's required for admission because you don't have time to add a language in a 1 or 2 year program. So a traditional master's degree would involve a longer thesis, but say an education master's degree would involve more of a project focus where you show you can apply certain things within your field to solve a problem or address a problem, or even bring a problem to light. You don't even have to solve it. And these programs, the practical programs, have gone more and more to night and weekend schedules to accommodate those who want to add a grad degree on top of their existing career. And the MBA is another degree altogether. Sometimes it's required in professional firms. Usually, paying for it is included in your compensation package. But it's expected of you. It's the value add that your employer will ask, and it's the value add that then you will be able to use to advance in your firm or your career. Hey, and that brings us to the money question. In traditional higher education PhD programs, there's usually a scholarship available, especially at the top tier schools. Now there is another level to that, and that is where, well, you couldn't get into the top tier schools, but you still want to pursue a PhD. So we're going to let you in. We're going to let you work toward a PhD. You're going to do all the same work that full scholarship students get at the better universities, but you're going to have to pay for this yourself. Now, for professional degrees like an MBA or a medical degree or a Juris Doctorate or a nursing degree, or a degree where there is a PhD available, but you're just going to go for a master's degree, well, that's going to come out of your own pocket. Yep, you're going to have to pay for that one yourself. Why? Because in those fields, you tend to make more money sooner than the other fields. Now, a reminder, for traditional humanities programs where PhDs are available, most of them will not give you a scholarship just to pursue a master's degree. And that's important to remember. But for those STEM and traditional humanities PhD programs at higher tier U.S. universities, it'll usually include a full scholarship that will involve a stipend for living expenses as well as your tuition and healthcare, and they'll also give you a job to do, like teaching classes or doing research for a professor. So you'll be a TA or an RA as well. And the total package of those scholarships can be worth anywhere from, say, $300,000 or $400,000 total to some as high as $750,000 in scholarship money over a 5-year program. And that means you'll be able to graduate from one of these top tier schools or universities with no graduate school debt. unless you take out a loan for supplementing living expenses, which a lot of people do. But the typical advice is that you scrimp and save and you keep eating like you did as an undergrad, ramen, hot dogs, whatever it is to live on the cheap, and you end up with that degree. But here's the interesting thing. Do you know that most people that graduate from PhD teaching and research programs are never taught how to actually teach in a classroom? That is, most PhDs teaching in today's colleges and universities never learned how to teach in today's college and universities. That's interesting and sad. So why should you go for a graduate degree today? Well, I've got 3 good reasons. The first one is that you will make more money and you will be more employable, period. Second, if you want a certain job or a certain income level, the closer you are to finishing the terminal degree in that field, the better off you'll be. And third, you can use your graduate degree as a way of marketing yourself, especially in the new economy when you do something like consulting. That's how I use my PhD. Even though I'm not teaching and doing research full-time, my PhD gets me in the door. It's part of my pedigree, and it gives me an opportunity to be, well, listened to. People tend to trust, they tend to experience my work product differently, and heck, in a 3-second world, getting that attention is absolutely essential if you're going to market yourself. I hope you've found some encouragement today, and if you're considering a graduate degree today, let me give you my best advice. Go for it. Go for it sooner rather than later. Know your field. Don't just talk to old-timers who went to grad school 30, 40, 50 years ago, because that world doesn't exist anymore. And don't just talk to your professors or teachers today. They'll be the ones who write you letters of recommendation to get into a grad school, but they're not going to hire you for a job. The people to talk to about whether your interest in grad school will be beneficial to you in your field are the people who will hire you one day, the people who are looking for people in your field. Talk to them, listen to them, and follow their advice. And of course, your first step in all of this is to tap the like button. And by the way, subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss an episode of The Do-Over Show every Monday and Friday. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.